What does decentralization mean? What does blockchain mean? And what do you mean when you say the machine is trying to learn the things deeply?
So blockchain had a lot of spotlight because enable cryptocurrencies. But cryptocurrencies is honestly, that's the reason why blockchain came about, because it was the solution for Bitcoin. I have to say that when money are involved so strongly, there is a lot of problem because there is a lot of greed. So people don't use the technology to make something beautiful technologically wise, but just to grab fortunes very easily.
Has technology been always a fascination for you, or were you into something else before that?
I always been fascinated by...
Hello everyone, welcome back to a fresh episode of the Underdog Protagonist. In this podcast, we are joined with our guest, Roberto Capodieci, a living legend in the world of technology. He's an Italian-born entrepreneur, university lecturer, blockchain architect, and an author. He sold his first video game at 10, launched his first company at the age of 14, and never looked back. Now, if you've been confused about blockchain, wary of AI, or simply curious of what it means to live a decentralized life, then this episode is for you. So without any further ado, let's welcome our guest, Roberto Capodieci, to the podcast.
Hello, Roberto. Welcome to the Underdog Protagonist podcast. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure for me as well. But before we begin the podcast, could you briefly say who you are, what you do, and what are you best known for, just for the listeners to have some context?
Sure thing. So my name is Roberto Capodieci. I am known for my presence in the world of blockchain mostly since the very, very early days. And, I do architecture solution for decentralized systems using blockchain mostly, but also other things. I'm very expert on peer-to-peer networks and the likes. Obviously, like everybody, I started about 8 years ago with the AI, with the machine learning, small neural network, and I also do this, but it's not my main skill set.
Gotcha. I want to jump into the AI stuff and talk a lot about that blockchain, ML, and how deep learning has been improving day by day. I think now it's a trend and it's a buzzword going around. But let's jump to the past for a while. Let's talk about the child Roberto. What was it like for you when you were trying to build a company at the age of 14, and how was the first sales experience for you like?
So before that, I already had a few initiatives like a computer club, electronics club, and things that we did. Then when I was 14, I actually registered legally the first company with authorization for the court of minors because I was underage. And it started small, but it grew quite fast, mostly because we were the only software house in a large space, because it was really a pioneer kind of work. And this made us collect a lot of opportunities. True is that when people knew that the partner was like a little kid, if you want, they were a little bit stepping back from things. So I had to hire older people to, be like a front face for sales and other things. Sometimes I was just pretending to clean the floor and, on the conversation and address things. And as soon as I started going a little bit of beard, I was so happy because, make you look older. And eventually 18 plus was I had a very nice car. And, when I arrived to clients, presenting myself more very secure with like this. So it was very easy to close deals. And it's been quite an experience. Lasted quite many years now.
Has technology been always a fascination for you, or were you into something else before that?
No, if you consider technology also what is mechanical, I always been fascinated by mechanism, by things that anyway use physics or logic to, get something done. Obviously, computers are easier to code and program compared to doing electronics. You need to solder and solve things, or mechanical part that you need to actually cut and, and make of the different gears and things. So that has been mostly because I'm lazy, has been the channel that I've chosen because it was easy to see a result of us and fix error, So, but yes, or since I was a very, very little kid, that's what I love to do.
You were a lot of cited you are very much excited about blockchain technology, right? But was there anything before that that also excited you?
I always loved the communication, telecommunications. So starting from when I was 7, 8 years, the CB, the radio to talk, VHF. And then when I started with computer, I was doing data transmission through radio, packet radios. I love the phone network. I'd been doing a lot of phone hacking when there was not even a law regarding this. So I've been always paying attention, and the borderline things I've done before legislation came along. As soon as legislation came, I stopped doing it. But I pushed the extremes very far. And for example, when I was even 7, 8 years old, I would love to go to a phone booth, put one token to make a phone call and call a number in Japan. And the idea that I made somebody stand up from their chair on the other side of the planet, it was like a remote power exercise. So as soon as I started playing with modems, bulletin board systems, and the first network like FidoNet, we had the packet network in Italy like Itapac, so it was a way to travel without moving your body from a place, but you could reach a far destination. Peer-to-peer network are a very fascinating way to arrive at the destinations through other nodes, let's say. And so it's been something that I loved and studied, mostly because they are a system that self-sustain has 100% uptime because it's made by many nodes, right? So I was already into peer-to-peer network before blockchain even came out. So when blockchain came out, as being a very easy step into the direction.
Gotcha. I mean, let's scroll to the present. You have lived through the dawn of internet, the rise of crypto, and now AI. Okay, so all big talk right now. A lot of people are trying to get into the stuff, but there are also big companies who have already taken over the language, the model, and the system, and they have started expanding on that as well. But I'm curious to know what felt like the biggest shift in all of that, and what do you think has not changed even now?
Oh my God. Well, obviously the biggest moment have been internet, when internet came out, right? So the idea, because local network were already a thing. So any company had older computer in a network, or they use like mainframe with all terminals in a network. But the connection of multiple network came to be a thing as well. Many companies would connect different location, having things. But when internet came out, really changed the paradigm. And this has been one of the first important moment, I think. And obviously the idea of a decentralized system, so a system that doesn't stay in one single server or data center, to me has been a very strong shift that is not yet been used. So as of today, I have to say that the opportunities that the centralized system brings have not been yet being used. So blockchain had a lot of spotlight because enable cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrencies is honestly right. That's the reason why blockchain came about, because it was the solution for Bitcoin. But I have to say that when money are involved so strongly, there is a lot of problem, because there is a lot of greed. So people don't use the technology to make something beautiful technologically wise, but just to grab fortunes very easily. And at the same time, there is a lot of regulations that so people tend to go against government desires, right? But the technology itself has a potential that is thousandfold the one of cryptocurrency. Actually can take care of many other things that today we are dealing with in daily life, from identity, signatures, bureaucracy, etc., all things that the blockchain or other decentralized system through peer-to-peer network can help us. So if you think in the evolution of the information era, information age that we are, we went from analog to digital. So from the videotape to the streaming of videos online, from picture to JPEGs, etc., etc. But we lost the singularity and the unicity of things, because if I had a vinyl disc with music and I give it to you, I don't have it anymore, right? If I start making copy data set, the quality of the copy will degrade the copy to copy. So the original was still important, even more with paintings, etc., etc. As soon as a painting is done in a bit and bytes, the copy is one-to-one precise to the original. So there is a loss of value when it comes to the handling of creation of value. Even a document, a document on paper is stamped. The photocopy obviously is not the original, but if the document is a digital document, the copy is identical to the original. And the blockchain brings the opportunity to go back to have an original. Because, think a simple example with Bitcoin. I can now copy and paste my Bitcoin and give you the copy of my Bitcoin. Because it will be worth zero in a day, right? So once I give you my Bitcoin, I don't have it anymore. And this is a simple thing, but it's actually a very powerful things in the world that we are now. And these things which could help us go through documentation flow and other things has not been yet used. The video games world is using it a little bit, but that's it pretty much. So there is a lot of future on it. And then now AI has all the spotlight on. People forgot about NFTs and other things. And mostly this means is a good opportunity for a real project for the centralized system to come up. And AI can be for sure a powerful companion as a technology ingredient in recipes for new solutions, I guess.
Gotcha. When we are using a lot of buzzwords right now, decentralization, blockchain, AI, and a lot of stuff, and we might go on, using many more as we go on with this podcast session. So let's just break down a few of those, okay? And let's just try to be brief with it. What does decentralization mean? What does blockchain mean? And what do you mean when you say the machine is trying to learn the things deeply?
Well, decentralizing something means not to store and to make it function out of a single place. So if I decentralize a website, for example, it means that all the parts of the website are replicated among many servers. And when I collect to visualize the website, I'm taking things from here and there. So if one of those servers gets shut down, my website is always going to be online, right? This is in a simple term. And this is decentralizing, like a peer-to-peer network, which is the base of decentralization, is made like many computers connected to each other, where no computer is more important than the other. So there is no one leading computer, one boss, one center of truth, because if there was, it would not be decentralized anymore. So if there are 10,000 computers that support the network, you can shut down 100 of them. It makes zero difference. The network still has 100% of its truth and it keeps working. And new nodes can join at any time and make the network strong. This is the idea of decentralization. And decentralization allows to remove the man in the middle, meaning that if I send a Bitcoin to you, the interaction is just between me and you. There is nobody. The part in the middle is mathematics. It's just executing operations. So there is an opinion to be put in the middle. So whatever I ask is executed if is asked properly. But if I transfer money to you through the bank is a man in the middle. If the bank is closed, the money doesn't get to you. If the bank thinks you shouldn't get receiving money for whatever reason, or I'm not authorized to send money, you don't get them. And in this many cases, the man in the middle can become a center of power that can be abused. And, many countries have corrupted governments. So if you don't pay off, they don't give you the license for or whatever. So with a decentralized flow or rule, very transparently, clearly stated, if you follow those rules, you get for sure the result. If you don't, you do not. And this is decentralization. Blockchain is pretty much an application built on a peer-to-peer network that has specific rules written in. So when I teach, for example, consensus mechanics of blockchain, I create a peer-to-peer network where people can play chess or tic-tac-toe. So every transaction is a move. And if the rules look at the rules of chess or the rules of tic-tac-toe, if the move I'm asking is legitimate, it's going to be registered. If not is bounce. So so this is to explain that it can apply to everything. The example is I want to go to the gym. I need to have like a health certificate released by a doctor, and this can be all done electronically in the blockchain, where the doctor is authorized by the government to release the health certificate. So, and this is proven. My health certificate is encrypted. I go to the gym. I give them the decryption key. They can see that it's been signed by a legitimate doctor authorized by the government. And now none of these things can be counterfeit because they are deposited in this large network. So even if I compromise one node to tell this node to authorize something that it should not, the rest of 9,999 nodes are going to bounce the transaction. And this is the logic behind. For what concerns deep learning, this is one of the technique that there are in training AI or algorithms that pretend almost to be intelligent, but there are many more. And I have to say that the advances being done in the past few years are insane. I'm quite concerned about the use of AI. Now we cannot believe any video we see if it's true or not. We are to a level that people cannot recognize. Before you see people with 6 fingers, strange stuff like this, that's what now is already. So we have this issue that we need, and probably the solution around blockchain can help us recreate the singularity. So if you see a video about me, like this one that I'm shooting with you on this podcast, be generated by AI, or it could be me for real, and I may use the cryptographic signature of a frame of this video to sign it that it was missing this thing and it's not somebody generated an AI pretending to be me. So there is a good marriage between the two technologies that I guess.
Okay. It's helping one person be sure that that's authenticity there. There are transaction records which can be verified to blockchain. It cannot be faked. There are digital products which belong to the author and the names exist in that blockchain. And when you want to trace back that where it originated from, you can get that result there. And so on and so forth. There's identity, there's ownership, and there's transparency. So do you think this is where the future is, or that blockchain will be used widely for every kind of purpose, or do you think there are some limitations?
No, I think that the problem we have now is mainly related to the management of the keys. Okay, one more time, because it's decentralized, you cannot use a username and a password, because a username and a password need to be validated in a place that is protected from everybody's eyes. But in a decentralized manner, nothing can be protected from everybody's eyes. So people authenticate themselves with a mathematical operation. There is a cryptographic signature. To generate this, people need to save a certain set of data, which are not easy to manage for my auntie or my mom, right? So in this point, there are some hardware wallets that allow to manage these things in a safer way, in a safer manner, or services of these things. So this is one first block. But if we think, for example, I have, this is my Italian cryptographic signature. So I live in Indonesia, but if I want to sign a legal document in Italy, I can use this. This is a cryptographic signature, no different from signing a transaction of Bitcoin in the blockchain. And that this is a valid signature that doesn't need a notary to certify that I was signing, because it's based on mathematics, right? So there is a start of application of these technologies already in government in the past years. It's a slow process. If you think some banks require you to submit form via fax, and the fax machine, maybe some people don't even know what it is, but what's this thing where you put paper and the copy of it comes out? Not because banks are behind with technology, is because the regulators are behind with regulations. So the regulator consider valid the submission via fax, for example, and that is forced bank in 2025 to ask against this. So the advancement for the application of certain technology is slowed down by the fact that people is attached. If you think we have, as of today, email protocol is one of the most horrible protocols that exist. It can be spoofed, it can be faked, you can change the it's really all in clear. It's really horrible, but probably 40, 50 years ago when it's being invented, it was okay because they wouldn't think that what people could do about it, But the email protocol is terrible and still being used today simply because it's a standard that is hard to get out of. SMS The SMS from the gateways with standard password to all the network is one other incredibly horrible system with zero security, and yet the people use SMS to unlock the door of the house, or to make the protection for the bank with second factor authentication. So there are a lot of things whose technology is way, way, way past, and but it's still used just because either it will be too expensive to replace, or is a living things like the mail that you cannot change under the feet of people because it will create issues. So there's a question to see how to introduce new technologies, software technologies inside the system that still exist. And eventually, that's the direction we are going to. There is no. Somebody has to make a choice for tomorrow. They should choose a better, things to make it better. So
let's talk about, all these scams going on when this technology is evolving. People figure out a lot of ways to, scam people and take their hard-earned money. And as crypto was on rise, even I was a victim. I did not fall for the scam completely, but I was being targeted by the scammers at they will approach, like most of the artists or creators will approach in a way like, I want to purchase this art piece from you, or I want to hire you to build this let's say logo from you. So the ask will be legitimate. It will have all the backs to it, and you can't differentiate whether it's a fake or is it something that is trying to scam us. So the long as they agree, but they will soon come to this statement that I don't want to transact through money or Stripe or PayPal or anything. I'll use cryptocurrency to send you the money, and you need to use this link, or you need to connect your wallet to this so that I can transfer you the money. And they will be so much into the fact, transferring the money to you, that they will be like, I'll transfer the money to you first, then you even start the project. So typically they will become real clients. They will want to transfer 50% to you, and then the rest of the 50 at the end of the project. But these I'll transfer the 100% to you, and that is where you can spot that this is a fake guy who is trying to.
I have to say those are very basic. More than a scam, those are just unethical people. I mean, on freelancer.com, I've been robbed of thousands of dollars in the past. They start a project, then they ask you to send extra money, then they disappear. There are in plenty. But even in person, there is I paid a contractor to do construction in an office I had. The guy took the money, gone, disappeared. If you're in a country where law doesn't get enforced properly, if you're like in a country like Singapore, you have a written contract, the guy is cheating you on the money, you bring him to court, you win. Like in Europe, if you're in a country like Indonesia, where I'm living at now, what do you do? You need to call the top guy to go after the person, the person living in another island, go figure. So this kind of scam, yes, are scam, but are scam that, it's just a matter of trust that you build on the person that you're dealing with. PayPal is nicer because even though it's very expensive, you can recall a transfer made in a certain period of time if you have a valid reason. But, I also have online business. I had people that were unhappy. They tried to get money back, but they actually, the term and condition says that you can have a certain amount of time, etc., etc. And PayPal mediated these things without getting money, and it's okay. But the real important scam, I think, are those that treat people. For example, I was talking about scams less crimes, right? So there are things. I was talking about the fact that email has a terrible protocol. If emails are managed in a way that somebody can access the mail server, one common scam is to change the bank account number. So, for example, you're a company receiving invoices from a contractor that you've been working with, so everything is legit. And the email is intercepted by the criminal that stands as a man in the middle. And when it says, the payment, transfer the money, and there is the bank account number. When the email arrives, you change, the criminal changes the account numbers, you pay to the account, and they actually send in the money to the criminal organization. And this is a practical things that a lot of companies fall for because of low security in protocols used for communications, right? So if I can spoof a WhatsApp message, which is very easy to do as well, you can receive a message from the number that is your boss, and your boss is asking you to actually please send this money to this account, and the secretary will do it, and so on and so forth. And then there are scams that actually trick people into believing things. So I would say it's not much a matter of technological scam, or they're mixed, but they are more what is called social engineering. So, like romance scams. So people that initiated this beautiful connection, emotional connection, even months into this thing. And during these months, they also connect with the rest of your social network. So they become friends in Facebook with your family, your friends, and so on. You are convinced that you found the woman of your life or the man of your life. And then they start suggesting you to do an investment. They already made out the money, you believe them. You start investing, you see in this fake website that you believe is true, that your money goes up and up and up. And then they insisting lending you some money to achieve the ultimate things, and then all the money are gone. Then they want the money back. They start messaging all your family and friends that you owe them money. People find themselves in very bad situation, losing huge amount of money, and also with a broken heart, because maybe they were actually with this here 1.10 m man scammer there is somewhere. And then there are, with the use of artificial intelligence, those scams that are more a mix of social engineering and technology. So targeting, for example, older people, they clone the voice of the grandson, the granddaughter, and sometimes even the video, and they would call and say, I'm in trouble. Don't say nothing to my parents, but you need to send some money because I'm taken hostage or taken from the police or whatever. They always put a sense of urgency, of rush to do things very fast because people have the time to think about it. In fact, the best thing would be to just hang up and call back, see, if the person was actually them, because the number can be spoofed very easily, SMS can be spoofed, WhatsApp can be spoofed. So you see an authentic, correct call from your grandson. I think that is not him, because the one calling was him. That's what the phone shows. And these are bad. Unfortunately, there is people that probably don't believe in karma and keep doing this sort of things. Is an industry. There is also organized crime that has those kind of scams. For example, identity guaranteed by cryptographic signature would be impossible for this criminal to call me and verify the identity while doing this call, because they will have now the keys that are needed to do the identity verification. So they can fake my image, but they cannot fake my signature, right? So I'm sure that soon the application of this technology to guarantee people of the veridicity, the truth of the information they can see is going to be easily, bringing us forward the use of this sort of technologies.
Absolutely. I think they have to wake up to the reality that this is what is going to happen in the future, even more often if you're not, aware of the proceedings and how technology is, shaping the future and this generation. So if you are smart enough, you will make yourself educated on these topics and how these, scams are happening all around, so that you are safe and your family is also safe.
That's easy to say and more difficult. Mostly the potential victims are those that are the last to get informed. So it's easy that the people around the potential victims are those that will protect them, So they see a family member, strange behavior on the cell phone a lot, sending money, asking money. There's probably somebody being victim of an online scam.
Exactly. I think as a younger generation, if you have older parents or grandparents, then it's your responsibility that you also try to educate them, or even try to help them in a way to make them aware that stay away from these things. If something of such happens, or if any person of such integrity approaches to you, just try to inform me first without taking any decisions by yourself or in a hurry.
It's always a war between the scammer on one side and and the justice on the other.
Exactly. But I think it's all coming around to how aware you are of the situation. But I think there must be a few things that is currently broken in this Web3 space or crypto space, the blockchain space, that has been manipulated by the scammers or people who are attempting crimes on, web platforms. Could you point out a few of them? Because you have a history on, web security. So you might have a broader idea.
I mean, the phishing aspect is so creating a fake website that is identical to the authentic one with the domain name that is just slightly different that you don't notice, and a lot of Google advertisement to point to this domain. Because consider that there is a lot of people, and this shocked me, that if they want to go to Facebook, they actually open Google and Google the word Facebook and they click on the first link that comes up. And it is a huge mistake because many times the link that comes up is not the actual place that you want to go. It's an advertisement that is hooking up on the keyword. And with crypto world, there is a lot of this. So people search for whatever is the exchange that they normally use and they put that in Google. The actual link that comes up is the one is a phishing thing. It's a fake website. They look identical. They enter their own things. And this acts as man in the middle. So in the moment that they think they're transferring something to a particular address, they're actually transferring it to a different address, which is the one of the scammer. There are more technical one. For example, in blockchain, they use the Ethereum virtual machine. So there are tokens, USDC, PT, etc., etc. This token is like a small application built on top of the blockchain. So when you want to operate this application, you need to consume the original token of the blockchain. So in Ethereum, if you want to move a USDC, there is a fee to be paid in Ethereum. Okay. So some scam that goes around now, they will leave comment underneath video in YouTube like this, pretend to be literate, says, I have $4,000 in this wallet. My keys, my seed phrase is this, and they put it there so that you find this money for real there. But there is no gas. There is no funds in order to move them. So what they do, they inject some funds thinking to steal the capital. And as soon as they check the fund, there is a bot that takes it away. So these people make money on pretend or potential thieves themselves. So, and when you are guilty and you're being scammed with an attempt to be guilty, you're double ashamed. So you will never go to the police or law enforcement or so, as another interesting trick. But the latest, most incredible kind of attack on crypto people, let's say, but also in high-level management, which is very well done, but it's easy to... it happened once to me today, for example. You are called because either they want to interview you in important, like a podcast or a radio show or television, whatever. Or they offer you a very highly paid job that you need to do an interview, etc., etc. And when you proceed... you arrive to a certain point where to communicate with them, you need to download the driver because your microphone doesn't connect. And they use a communication like in place of Zoom or Meet, they use something strange. You need to download the application to talk with them.
Yeah.
This application contains malware. So you even go through the process, you install the things, and you actually go ahead and actually manage to connect without realizing that you have installed in your computer a software that gives them remote access to your computer. And then because they target right people, you probably have seed phrases in your drive, etc., etc. So when you don't realize, they are sweeping all your computer in search for access to cryptos, and they steal them. So once people receive an offer that seems too good, too strange, always check the domain name. If the domain name has been registered just 1 month before the event, 99% this is a scam. That's exactly what happened to me. Super well done. A website that there is a copy and paste of the legitimate website, but the domain name is a little different. Of a system to talk, like a Google Meet, like things, there is all the process, all the pricing, everything is there. And then you go to check the domain name, you see it's been registered like 20 days ago, and then you realize, okay, this is not a legitimate website. And if you want to go furthermore, you download the software, you analyze it with the antivirus system or something like this. It's not set. Sometimes they code their own things that they may seem legitimate. It's not it's a non-virus, but you can find out. Another thing is when they hire developers, they say, okay, in order to hire you for a lot of money, this you need to show us how you work, and they give you a repository that you need to install your computer and run, and then again immediately giving them remote access. It's called DevPopper. I wrote articles about these things, and many times I guess so many that it happened at least 2-3 times a month, or even more, that I receive requests of such things, and I respond to them. Oh, look, in your code, we asked you to analyze the code. I found that your code is fine like this, And so pay attention, people that receive very interesting and beautiful offers, because time they're not real.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have spoken about the past, your past, and how technology was evolving. We have spoken about the present, how technology is being played around in the blockchain environment, and also scams are happening all around, and how we can secure ourselves. But let's also talk about the future, and let's talk about how AI is shaping the future landscape for each and every one of us. What's ahead of us? What should we learn? What should we stay away from? And what should we think is important to pay attention right now in AI?
My God, AI is the biggest technology, the technology with the biggest impact on humanity, okay? It's like dropping a 20% booster of IQ in the world, okay? For those that have access to it, that's the incredible thing. So there will be a huge divide on skeptical people that say, never, I still know people that, I don't use those things, ChatGPT says, okay. The first fear is that AI is stealing our jobs. But the reality is that the first people to lose the job are going to be those that don't use AI. So when you put the developer next to each other and one is using AI, the other is not, for sure the one that is using AI is way more efficient, better code, clean, Tomorrow, probably, this guy is going to lose the job against an AI agent that is so good that they replace even the human aspect of interacting with the developer, which we don't have yet, okay? But the implication in many other fields are incredible. And like every technology, for good and for bad. So there was a very scary and interesting article, but of many years ago, it's not even recent, of some scientists that they use a very small model they run in a laptop computer, okay, old laptop computer even, just to find chemical compounds that they use to do medicine, things to cure people, okay? And they will leave it there running day and night, and sometimes will come out with a new one, and they will study it and analyzing. It was incredibly good, because humans would have taken forever. AI can. And they were invited to speak about this and also the danger of AI at the conference. And they said, let's try this. They only changed one parameter in the system that this AI was producing, that rather than cure, will kill humans. Okay. And in one night, this AI came out with a lot of known poisons, but also a lot of not yet known poisons. So they had in their hand, really like chemical weapons potential, that this AI generated in a single night in a AI. Okay, so can you imagine the power that a large data center like the one of ChatGPT, etc., if besides serving millions of people, they were actually being used in a single way to, like super intelligence, to discover cure for sickness that we have, and outside the loop of the pharmaceutical that they control things. If some independent will come out with a cure for a lot of things that humans suffer just because an AI has the power. But at the same time, with all the wars that are going on in the world now, if there is also the use of AI to do bad things, is equally powered, On the other hand, other things that I think that will have a very huge impact are, if you think when you go to school, you have classes of 20, 30, even 40 kids in some places, okay? And between 40 kids, they don't have the same intellect. There is the one that is extremely intelligent, the one that is a little bit slower than the others. And a teacher has the challenge to teach to all of these kids, hitting to the middle. So boring up the more intelligent, living in a difficult place, the slower kid, AI can actually customize lessons for each single kid in such a way that is also interesting. Let's say there is the girl that like ballet, you can teach math because dance is mathematics based, and the same the guy that likes soccer, you can teach geography by all the championship around the world. I don't know. And so AI can be the amazing teacher to customize lessons to the profile of each kids. And I think that in education, this is going to be a huge revolution. And there are already some schools that are start using this method of different classes for each kid. And the rest of the evolution of things where AI is involved, we all know, like we are seeing self-driving cars, and a self-driving car is a robot at the end. So I think robotics is an industry that is super old. But the technology for a robot with the guidance of AI in managing the movement and things, that's the fascinating. So the mechanical arm in the serial production of car existed since 30 years ago, right? But this mechanical arm has a brain that understands better how to do things. You optimize processes. So I think farming, which is a job that less and less people want to do, can be 100% automated with robot. Robot, I don't mean with robot. The robot can be a tractor that self-drives around, I don't know, rather than... And AI that adjust those issues that the robot had always, which is the inaccuracy of doing things, right? Because they had no capacity. It's just to the developer that developed the software for the robot to make it functional or not. But with AI, you pretty much is like a baby. They're going to learn as they go, and they come better and better and better, and then clone themselves to the level. So it's fascinating. It's beautiful, and hopefully not apply on killer drones that go around.
Certainly is scary. I mean, these self-driving cars are using this neural networks and deep learning. Am I right? Is there something else in the loop as well?
Most self-driving car built, they were not Tesla. They were always being built with a technology that has a special kind of camera that works a little bit like a sonar in order to the correct piece of...
Has adapted.
Tesla had that at the beginning and then abandoned it, using only the camera to give it to an artificial intelligence the same capacity that the human have by looking at an image to understand the distance of things, and not because there is an input which is more secure on a certain aspect, but it vanified the AI, meaning that this is not just a brain, the guy that drive the car is, an input set of input that give you parameterization in order to drive the car. So it's not pure AI, right? And the fact that Tesla went toward the pure AI kind of solution is beautiful in terms that there is more and more trust into the analysis of the images done by AI. So without having to tell AI, yeah, you see this, but trust me, this is distance like that, like something like this. It's a delicate point because as of today, we don't know how AI works. And this is the scary part, right? We know the work, we know how to deal with it, we know, the good and the bad things, we know the large logic of how it is, but why it is in all the story, the large language model put the next more obvious wording sequence like this, they smell of yes to me so much because the sequence of interaction don't actually justify the kind of explanation that has been given.
Yeah, I think I was listening to an interview by the CEO of Claude, I believe, and he mentioned that he's astonished that so many people are believing or trusting AI, which they should not. Even though he's like against the notion.
Anthropic, which is the company behind the Claude, like OpenAI behind ChatGPT. So Anthropic has always taken much more open in terms of disclosure and like sort of academic in terms of studying of the models. So, ChatGPT, OpenAI is working, we sell it, we make money. Anthropic is all like, oh my God, let's invest a lot of money to understand why he's doing this thing, like why reasoning is true reasoning. Comes out the reasoning is a pretend that the AI does to make you happy to see reasoning, but actually is reasoning completely different way on his own. So that's the point. Is interesting. I had a very strange experience with AI as well, in a way. I've been answered things that were absolutely not part of the conversation, and made me understand that probably we managed to create a potential brain, and as synapses are built in a brain of a human, they are sort of happening there as well. But I'm not a scientist for AI, so I'm just speculating my impressions and thinking. But it is interesting, nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. We have approached the final segment of our podcast, which is the rapid fire segment. I'll ask you 5 questions, but the catch is to be fast, you have to be brief, and you can't take long time to think on the answer. You ready?
Let's go.
Okay, number 1, a lesson the internet taught you.
The possibility are millions.
Number 2,
There's opportunities and possibilities.
gotcha. Number 2, what people misunderstand about you.
What work I do is a big mystery. Yes.
Okay. Number 3, that the book that changed how you lead.
You know what? I think the best book I read that has the biggest impact is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Interesting. Number 4, a belief you once held that you have since let go.
Santa Claus.
Okay, that was not about technology, but okay. And last one, number 5, what kind of war you hope Web 3.0 helps build?
A place where people can interact with each other without a man in the middle.
Gotcha. That just wraps up this last segment of our podcast. But before we say our goodbyes, I have this one last ask for you. What advice would you give to someone, like maybe the listeners who are listening to this podcast or watching that on YouTube? This, let's say, AI, technology, blockchain, ML, deep learning, whatever that might be, not just for the headlines, but probably for the higher impact that will stick and not fail.
Well, the basic suggestion that is always valid in these terms is find the problem and then build a solution. Don't find the solution and search for a problem, because that's the worst. That's it.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Roberto. It was a truly insightful experience. I really loved the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found the things shared in this episode insightful and fascinating at the same time. I'll leave links to Roberto's socials and his books down the description for you to go and check it out. I'll catch you in the next one, but until then, take care.